Hey everyone, Twana Michelle here, Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Coach and Mental Health Therapist. And today I want to talk to you about how the narcissist controls you. We all know that the narcissist loves, needs power and control for psychological survival. These people thrive off of that, off of the ability to manipulate situations and people so that they have the ultimate control over their lives and over others. And the reason the narcissist does that is because they really, at their core, that they cannot access, refuse to access. They are in such denial about what they really feel at their core, which is feelings of inadequacy, insecurities, core toxic shame. So the narcissist is a trauma victim, just as the codependent is. But because they are unable to or chose not to very early in their lives, not to see themselves as a victim in any way that they chose to compensate for that was to take the extreme approach, which is to see themselves not as victim but as conqueror. And not just as conqueror of things, but also conquerors of people. And so they had to develop this false persona, this grandiose, superior version of themselves, which shows up as a narcissistic personality disorder. Now, there are lots of people with narcissistic tendencies that don't necessarily meet the full criteria for narcissistic personality disorder. So please know when I talk about narcissists, I'm talking about full blown narcissists who meet that criteria. Because sometimes I get questions where people will ask, well, what about this and what about that? And of course, even with someone with NPD, narcissistic personality disorder, there are exceptions. But 90% of the time, when I get comments with scenarios or questions, I'm usually thinking this is probably not a person with a personality disorder, but maybe someone with a lot of narcissistic tendencies. And there is a difference. There's a difference because someone who has tendencies of narcissism, first of all, we all have narcissism on some level. Narcissistic tendencies that are higher on that um, continuum show up as more pathological, but they may not be to the degree where they cannot see their faults and that they're not willing to change. So, narcissists that have gone on to develop narcissistic personality disorder, they do not see their faults because they cannot. They have completely repressed all trauma, all victimization, all feelings of victimization, all feelings associated with what they think is weak. So they are just not going to go there. They cannot go there. In fact, if you expose a narcissist's true self, they're going to experience a narcissistic injury, which I've made a video about. I will link that, which will lead to a narcissistic rage, which I've also talked about. So they are not going to do any introspection and say, okay, yeah, maybe you're right. They're going to attack you. Now, you may or may not know that the narcissist's main weapon that they use is communication. And that's why myself and probably anyone else who is in the narcissistic abuse community who speaks about this always says go no contact, go no contact, go no contact. Because the narcissist's main weapon is communication. If they can communicate with you, if they can interact with you in any way, then they have the ability to push your buttons, which they know how to do very well. They have the ability to manipulate you. They have the ability to, and this is the key, evoke an emotional reaction from you. This is how the narcissist controls you. They control you by being able to tap into those emotions that make you feel vulnerable, which gets a response out of you, or rather a reaction if you have not learned how to control your emotions, especially when it comes to dealing with the narcissist. Now, the reason we say go no contact is because we know these people are master manipulators. They're very skillful. And even when you feel like you've done a lot of work on yourself and you've learned some emotional control and you've learned how to stop and think and respond instead of react, these people are so good that even if you have gotten that far in your growth, they still might be able to get you. They still might be able to get that reaction out of you because they know that you are going to feel triggered. And even when we've done healing work on our trauma and our emotional pain, we can still be triggered. And so we have to always be aware when we're being triggered so that we can respond to that in a healthy way. But with the narcissist's ability to provoke and manipulate, sometimes sometimes we fail at it. I mean, just to be quite honest, sometimes they just have the ability to hit that vulnerable spot with us that makes us react. And they do that in many ways. But the main thing that they do to control you is to play on those emotions. If they can make you feel sad, if they can definitely make you feel angry, they're going to probably get the biggest reaction out of you if they can cause you to feel anger or frustration or grief or regret or any type of intense emotion or even love. Sometimes they'll go back to the love bombing in that hoovering stage to kind of reel you back in. And we know love, the feeling of love and the feeling of anger are the most powerful, intense emotions. So they tend to go for those. They also go a lot for sympathy, if they can make you feel sorry for them. Because when we have been with narcissists, or if we have been attracted to narcissists, we typically are empaths, right? So we feel for people, we care about people, especially those that we once loved. So if they can try to get you to feel sorry for them, then they know that they can likely get a response out of you as well. So you just have to be aware. Let me tell you, maintaining awareness is so important. Practicing mindfulness, being in the present moment, so that you are not as easily triggered. That is one way to avoid reacting emotionally to the narcissist if you are not able to go no contact with them. I know there are situations in which you can't go no contact. Maybe we share a child with them. Maybe we share, a dog with them. Maybe we work with them. Maybe it's not a romantic relationship and it's an employer or someone that you see every day you can't go no contact with. These people still try to do the same tactics. They still try to manipulate you in the same ways. They still try to get that same emotional reaction from you. Because you know why? First of all, you're easier to manipulate when you're emotional. You're not always very logical and rational when you're emotional. You are likely triggered into a trauma response. So the part of your brain that has to deal with logic and executive functioning is not working as well as it normally does. So they find it easier to manipulate you, and they know that. Narcissists typically are intelligent folks. They know how to do that. And also, when you are triggered, you are likely triggered into an emotional flashback. So you're reacting because it feels like you're reliving it in a sense all over again. So that's why staying in your body, staying present in the moment, staying grounded can be very helpful in avoiding being controlled and manipulated emotionally by the narcissist. I'll give you some examples of things that narcissists may do to try to evoke an emotional response. And I'll tell you some real life things that I have experienced. There is the love bombing, which is preying on that soft, vulnerable, loving side of you. So this is where the narcissist is constantly telling you how much they miss you, how much you mean to them, how much they loved you, how they regret all the things that they've done to hurt you. And I fell for that so many times because I so desperately wanted and needed to feel validated and loved by the narcissist. Let me tell you, work on your self love and your self worth, and that can help you with that need to feel loved and validated, that approval seeking. The narcissist comes along and it's like finally someone's giving me something that I've always wanted and needed. When you work on loving you, it doesn't mean that we don't need love from others, because we do. But I'm not going to get into that. But if you work on self love and self worth, then it's easier to avoid falling into that trap. Another thing that the narcissist does is they want to play on your insecurities. So I remember I hadn't seen the narcissist in a while, and I was still at a point where I wasn't completely able to go no contact. Because of proximity, this person lived close to some of my family members, and when he knew I was there, he would just pop up. Okay, that was a boundary setting issue for me with my family, but anyway, I'm not going to get into that either. But he would see me after maybe not having seen me in a while, and he would say, "Oh, I can see that you've picked up some weight. I know you don't like that." So the narcissist knows your insecurities, they knows what your perceived flaws are and your weaknesses, and they're gonna poke that button because they want to get a reaction out of you. So that may cause some anger, which it did for me, but it also caused some self-doubt. So I started to doubt myself. I started to lose that confidence in myself again because the narcissist was pointing out one of my main insecurities. And so that's what they'll do. They'll actually play on your insecurities and your perceived flaws. Another big thing that the narcissist did was try to play on my sympathy. This guy actually called me in the middle of the night. Again, I was not in my no contact era yet, as I have been now for a while. And the only reason I picked up is because he kept calling, and then eventually sent a text saying that he thought he was having a heart attack, and these were all the symptoms, which I'm familiar with heart attack symptoms, and it sounded like, okay, maybe he is. And because he's someone that I once cared about, I took the bait. I felt empathy, I felt sympathy, I felt fear. You see all of these love because I once loved him. You see all of these different emotions that he was able to prey on. I actually fell for that. And so when I picked up the phone and we started talking, he basically said that he lied and that he knew that was the only way that I would answer. So, and of course, anger. He's constantly he was no contact now, but he was constantly trying to provoke me to anger because that was the emotion that at that time I had the most difficulty controlling. And so he would basically attack me, harass me, verbally abuse me, make threats, and all of these things. So it was anger, it was fear, it was love, it was vulnerability, it was insecurity, it was sympathy, it was all of these things. And it's hard to not fall for that because these people are so good at it. So I'm going to tell you 3 things you need to do. Number 1, you need to go no contact with these people. If you cannot, then you need to go low contact, gray rock them. Matter of fact, no emotion at all, no emotional response. The second thing you need to do is be aware of your triggers and keep working on that. Because if you are living in a state of mindfulness and presence, then it's harder to be pushed back into an emotional flashback. And when you are, you learn how to bring yourself out of that. And the third thing that you want to do is keep working on your healing. You have been traumatized from these people. Keep working on healing your trauma. Keep working on recovering. Keep working on emotional growth. Extremely important. Work on self-worth and self-love. This is how these people got us in the first place. But keep working on you, and it's going to make it less likely for these people to be able to manipulate you. But that's all I have, guys. Let me know in the comment section down below what your experience has been with the narcissist trying to control and manipulate you through your emotions. And leave a comment and just tell us about that. Also, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it out with others who may be interested in this topic, and check out some of my other content. If you are interested, subscribe to our channel. We'd love to have you be a part of this community. And I think that is it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, take care. Bye.